Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. A man walks into a pet store and he asks for a dozen bees. The clerk counts out 13 bees, and the man says, "Wait a second, that's one too many bees." And the clerk says, "That's a freebie." Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 10 meanest games of all time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're taking a look at my top 10 meanest games. What do I mean by meanest games? We've all been there. We all know some games are just mean. You can cut the feet off of somebody's strategy very easily and then laugh about it. You can do all sorts of mean and vile things to various people in the course of that game. We're going to go ahead and take a look at it. So I've gone ahead and I've ranked these games. Now, I usually do my rankings in terms of uh, how much fun the game is. Here, I actually rank them, I think, in terms of how mean what you can do in these games is. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. First of all, some honorable mentions. First of all, I want to mention My Father's Work. This is a great app-driven game. Your various families in a dynasty of mad scientists. And what's great here is you can totally screw people over. I was playing this with Kim last year, and she actually at one point made a decision to burn down my lab. I didn't know it was her. They just said the app just said it was a freak accident, and then like an hour later into the game, the app reveals that she made that decision, and it was hilarious. Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery. That's a game where you're bidding on different gladiators, but you can undercut your rivals. You can find ways around them. It's great fun as well. Downfall of Pompeii. You're actually putting. It's about people trying to flee a volcano, and you place lava tiles on their people. They're just cubes, but you place them on there and kill them. That's a lot of fun. Courtier. Courtier is a great area control game where you're trying to work on a strategy to get all these cards, but as soon as somebody does something, they take away all the cubes, and suddenly your strategy's just gone out the window. Great game. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the my top 10. Number 10 is a game that is funny in that I would say it's a mean game because it's also one of the great all-time gateway games. It's one of the great all-time um, lighter, fun family games, and yet I think it can be incredibly mean. This is Ticket to Ride, and this is a very mean game because you're trying to compete to take those tracks, those pathways, and sometimes somebody can build a whole strategy, getting longest track or something based on just one line, and then somebody snatches it from them. I was playing a game of Ticket to Ride Europe with Holly one time, and Holly is just a sweetheart. She is lovely, and she doesn't use foul language. I took a route from her, and she let it rip. She was not happy and let me know it. So that was incredibly fun and funny. But it's a mean game when you do that to people. So that is number 10. That is Ticket to Ride. That is from Days of Wonder. My number 9 is a game with a very popular IP. Certainly not as popular as it was, but this is a Game of Thrones, the board game, specifically second edition. Game of Thrones, the board game, is a game where you have to make alliances in order to win. You can't win without people helping you. But at some point, if you want to get ahead, you have to betray those people. So you this is a losing friends game, right? Because you have to cut other people loose and turn on them and attack them. And this is, again, another game that has produced some absolutely hilarious moments with my friends and I when somebody, you know, has a great strategy and they think they're flank secure and then their ally attacks them. Great fun. That is number 9, Game of Thrones, the board game. That is from Fantasy Flight Games. My number 8. Now, this is a mean game, not only from what other players can do to you, but what the game can do to you. And this is Dead of Winter. Okay, so in Dead of Winter, you've got these survivors in a zombie apocalypse. And what's cool here is everybody kind of has like it's a cooperative game, a semi-cooperative game because you're all working together. There may be a hidden traitor, but there's also people that are working. They have their own agendas, and in order to win, they have to meet the group win conditions. But they also have to satisfy their own agenda. So you don't know if somebody's acting weird, if they're acting weird because they're the traitor or they're acting weird because they've got a hidden agenda they're trying to fulfill. So it's very mean the way people act. Like, the group needs a certain resource to pass a test or something, but that person has to have those resources for their win condition. So, like, no, I can't contribute it. Like, no, you got to contribute it. No, I can't. And then, of course, they get accused of being the traitor. That's hilarious. It's so much fun. But also, too, the game itself is mean. Quinn's on Shut Up, Sit Down said that has the scariest die in history of board games, because every time you move from location to location, you roll that die, and if you get the tooth, then one of your people's infected, and you got to cut them loose. It's scary. So I really like Dead of Winter. I actually haven't played this in a while. I got to play Dead of Winter again sometime. That is Dead of Winter. That is my number 8. That is from Flat Hat Games. My number 7, again, this is another game that is kind of a lighter game. I would say it's almost a borderline party game. It's not really, but it abuts that. But it's a game that you would play this with. I mean, you could play this with friends and family, and you'll again probably lose friends. But this is Sheriff of Nottingham. In Sheriff of Nottingham, of course, you and your friends are you want to use the sheriff. The sheriff changes, but you and your friends are trying to get past the sheriff, and you're smuggling goods. And if you're smuggling goods, the sheriff can take a look at it and just screw you over. But at the same time, you can bribe the sheriff not to look. But the sheriff can just say, "No, I'm going to look." Now, if he looks and there's no contraband there, then he loses. But it's a bluff and double bluff game, and the sheriff has to decide: are you smuggling something, or do you just want to get me in trouble? And it's fun to kind of, when you actually are able to fool the sheriff into looking into your pouch when you got nothing illegal there. But it's also fun when you're the sheriff and you just want to screw someone over, and they're going to pay you, but you just say no, I'm going to do it anyway. Very mean game, very hard to get past somebody to get those points, but a tremendous amount of fun. This is Sheriff of Nottingham. That is not my number 7. That is from, come on, my number 6. This is one of the all-time great hidden trader games. And again, I've had screaming matches with people over this game. And I actually have played this with my last semester. I had, well, actually last year when I was in Wyoming, I taught a Nazi Germany class and a World War II class. And in both of those classes, I had my students come and we played this game. This is Secret Hitler. Secret Hitler is just this fantastic hidden trader game where you're either the liberals or the fascists, and one of the fascists is Hitler. And as you're going through this game, as you're playing this game, you're trying to divine who is who. And in a larger player count game, even Hitler doesn't know who his allies are. But this is a great game where, like I say, you can just get into screaming matches with people. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a fascist. And it's just so much fun. It's just, man, I get giddy every time I get a chance to play this one. That is Secret Hitler. That is my number 6. My number 5 is a game I played not too long ago. I played another game that was in the same series, and it's got the same quality to it. But this is Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East, and of course earlier I played Inner Sea. But Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East is it looks like it's a civilization building game, right? It looks like you've got a map of the Middle East. You're building your empires out. You're playing cards to build up your civilization. You got all these great civilization iconic stuff on there. But at the heart of the game, it's not really a civilization building game because you're not really building stuff that lasts. And what's happening here is frequently some players will get event cards or other things that can just completely screw you over. You're going along, you're building up this great civilization, and then suddenly, boom, you've got all these barbarians right around your cities, and they're just out of nowhere. It is fantastic. It's a great game. I really enjoy this game because there's a lot of depth there. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of card play. A lot of people who bought Inner Sea expecting it to be a straight civilization builder were really disappointed. But my friends and I, the first time we played that one, I was Inner Sea. I was in Texas. We loved it. And then I played it with my friends here in my friends down in Utah, and we loved it. We had a fantastic game. That is Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East. That is number 5. That is from GMT Games. My number 4 is another mean game because, again, it's another game where everyone has their own agendas, secret agendas. And it's got a great sci-fi setting. And, again, this is another game. Every time I get a chance to play this, I'm thrilled. And I love the creepy theme of the game as well as the gameplay. And this is Nemesis. Nemesis is great because players, again, have secret agendas. And you can play, you're trying to get the ship to safety or what have you, but then there's also something else. I had a game, I've mentioned this before, I was playing where one of my objectives was I had to kill George. So I'm playing with George, and you can't just out and out throw a grenade at somebody, but if they're in the same space as an alien, you can. So I actually went ahead and I threw a grenade in there, and he survived. I don't think he took any damage. And he gets out, and he can't survive is the thing, right? He can't make it. And he ended up getting out an escape pod, but he it turns out with his experience with the alien, he was infected. So he died, and I ended up winning the game. Fantastic game. I really enjoy Nemesis. Beautiful game, great theme, love it. That is number 4, Nemesis. That is from Awakened Realms. But number 3, this is again another game I mentioned in the honorable mentions Courtier. This is a game that's in the same series of games, but this is Domine from AEG. Now, Domine is an area control game. You've got the city-state of Tempest, and you've got different locations on the board. And you're trying to spread your influence in the different districts in the board, and you're doing cards to do it. You're actually laying down a card tableau that plays in order, 1 through 7. Every round, you add a card, and you're playing through whatever actions are on there. But you're trying to take over the city and influence. And very easily, just when you think you've got a district locked that gives you all these abilities and can contribute to a strategy, someone can come along and just boom, knock you over, knock you out, and you've spent so much time and resources there. But that's the game, and it is so much fun. Again, I've gotten to screaming matches with people who took over districts that I had. I love Domine. Fantastic game. So that is number 3. That is Domine. That's part of the Tempest series from AEG. My number 2 is one of my all-time favorite games. It's like my number 3 game of all time. So if you know the channel, you know me, you know what this is. Another great hidden trader game. This is Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica is, of course, it was the first hidden trader game I'd ever played. And it's a game where it's based on the TV show. Again, I think this is probably the most thematic game I've ever played. And what's cool here is one of you is a Cylon. Perhaps more of you become Cylons in the game. And as you're playing the game, you're always accusing people. Oh, you did that because you're a Cylon. You did that because you're a Cylon. But it can get so mean. Again, Holly, very sweet, but I got into one argument with her where we were both convinced the other one was a Cylon, and we were screaming at each other the whole game. And through the way we played cards, we just convinced ourselves the other one was a Cylon. Neither of us were Cylons, and the Cylons won because we were bickering among ourselves the whole time. So that was a lot of fun. And then I remember I played one game. I was playing with Justin, and I was a Cylon, and I had him thrown into the brig. And he's in the brig for like 3 or 4 turns, not being able to do much. He's screaming, "Let me out! I'm not a Cylon. I'm not a Cylon." I'm like, guys, I don't know. I don't know if we can let him out. I don't know if we can afford to let him out. And they kept him in there. And as soon as he gets out, like the next turn, Cylons win the game. I felt so proud of myself in that game. It was so much fun. Gosh, I could go on and tell you so many games. I remember there's the game where I was the president and I was a Cylon, and we had like a ton of water and like very little morale, and we got one of those cards that says, president chooses, lose 2 water or 2 morale, and I'm like, okay, lose 2 morale, and it tanked the ship, and I won the game as a Cylon. I love that game so much, and some of the absolute best gaming stories I have come from that game, and they come from that game because it is so mean. I love it. That is Battlestar Galactica. That is my number 2. That's from Fantasy Flight Games. Okay, my number 1 mean game of all time. This is a mean game. You might be able to call this the original mean game. This is a game that's definitely the oldest game on this list, and it's one of my favorite old games that actually, to be honest, I haven't played it in a few years. Probably need to dust it off. Actually, I am going to play a game of this with my students. Come to think of it, it'll be the first time I played this game in a long time. Actually, I'm probably not going to play. I'm probably just going to run the game. But this is Diplomacy. Diplomacy was from 1959. Alan Krauthamer, I think, designed it. He worked for the Rand Corporation, I think. It was Henry Kissinger's favorite game. It was John F. Kennedy's favorite game. But it's a game. It's Game of Thrones. The board game is based on this one. Essentially, you can't win alone. You need allies. But at some point, those allies are going to stab you in the back. But what makes this even, I think, more... What makes the pain hurt more here is, unlike Game of Thrones, the board game, the simplicity of this game, the simplicity of the rules, the simplicity of the way the game flows. It's so much fun, and you will again lose friends. This is the ultimate lose friends game. I think it was my number 1 in my lose friends list, right? But it's fantastic. It's just so much fun. I just love this game, and I love, of course, it's really an abstract game with a historical theme, right? The history is not well represented here as it is in many other games, but it's great fun seeing that map of Europe and the armies moving around, the navies moving around. It's just so well done. I know Renegade just got this. They got a new copy. In fact, I think they're going to send me a copy that I'll use for that game I'm planning on playing here in a few weeks. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to play this again. And well, like I say, participate in this game again. I don't know that I'm actually going to play, but I'm just super excited. There was a period in like my early 20s where this is like all we played. We played Diplomacy seriously like every Sunday for like years, and we had so much fun with it. And I've told the story many times. My friends Sean and Zach, brothers, they got into their worst fight of their entire lives because they were supposed to screw me over, and at the last minute, Zach kind of allied with me and won the game. And they got into a fist fight in a car ride home over this game because that's how mean it is. That is Diplomacy. That is my #1 game. It was originally, I think, an Avalon Hill title, I think, and it is being released by Renegade Game Studios currently. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those are my top 10 mean games. Please let me know. What do you think are some of your mean games? Please, do you think mine should be on here? Do you think they should not be on there? What games do you consider to be mean games? I love to hear your comments in the comments. So please go ahead and leave a comment. I really appreciate that. As always, please leave a comment not just here, but on Board Game Geek, on Facebook, on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to please check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history and fun things like that. I even post some of my lectures on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. And also, please leave a thumb to this video on Board Game Geek. That also helps us out a lot. If you are a fan of the channel, I would really appreciate it if you would consider clicking on the Super Thanks button here on the YouTube page and leaving a contribution. Again, that helps us out a lot. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I went to the doctor the other day and I told him I broke my arm in 2 places. He said, so don't go to those 2 places.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I've been dying. Once a year I wind up in the pen. God knows that I love to fight, but I don't ever win. It's a fine line to damnation, but God let me in.
These 2 will take out these 2. These 2 will take out these 2.
It's a brutal as hell game.